Video games are awesome. I love video games. And the year 2024 has a shit ton of really good games. This year is probably one of the best years for video game releases in a very, very long time. So, for the end of the year video, you just know it had to be a top 5 video games of 2024. Before we get started with our list, I had to make a bunch of changes to this list. I wanted it to be a top 10 list, but I simply just didn't play 10 games this year that I thought would be Game of the Year contender. So, sadly, I had to leave out several games from this list. Luckily, there's a category that exists called the Honorable Mentions. In no order, we have 4 entries to this category. In no order, we have Idk Chronicles 100 Heroes, Unicorn Overlord, Helldivers 2, and Destiny 2 The Final Shape. I wanted to put these games on the list, but sadly, I had to cut them. They're all great games that I highly recommend playing when you have the chance. Another reason why I cut these games is mostly because I actually haven't beaten some of these games, and some other things as well. I've played a decent chunk of Unicorn Overlord and Idk Chronicles, and I actually haven't really played too much of Helldivers 2 after all of the Sony stuff that happened earlier in the year, and Final Shape is a DLC, so it really shouldn't be counted in the first place. Game Awards, I'm talking to you. Another thing to mention, I have not played every single highly rated game this year, so games like Echoes of Wisdom, Metaphor, and Black Myth Wukong won't be on this list, sadly. One final thing to mention is I made this script and recorded all of this before Marvel Rivals came out. So far, I've been having a blast with the game, so Marvel Rivals is honestly another honorable mention. I'm a Scarlet Witch man, by the way. Now that we got all that out of the way, we can get to the actual top 5 games of 2024. I am not afraid to defend this game. Persona 3 Reload is not only one of the best video games of this year, but it's probably one of the best Persona games at the moment. I think that it's better in every single way compared to every version of Persona 3. Yes, even better than Portable. I think it's better than Persona 5, and Royale, and basically every single thing with Joker's face on it. This isn't biased towards Persona 3 because Persona 3 isn't even my favorite Persona game. It's Persona 4. Persona 3 Reload is actually a fantastic game. It takes everything that makes the original Persona 3 good, while enhancing everything with a modern system that they made with the Persona 5 Royale. Reload is by far the best way to play the Persona 3 story. I had so much fun playing Reload. The improvements that Atlas gave Reload is a super nice change from the older versions. Everything is so much cleaner and way more stylized. There are several changes that Reload did to improve the overall experience of the game, like the shift system, the theurgy system, and even something small like the mail system. I love these changes, and it makes the game so much better to go through. Tartarus is so much better to explore and is not a bitch to traverse like it was in Original 3. The new voice actors all do a fucking fantastic job, and I believe that they all deserve awards for their work. One last thing to mention is the music. All of the music was redone, and honestly, 99.9% of the new tracks are better than the original soundtrack. Some standout tracks from the new versions are the version of When the Moon's Reaching Out Stars and Changing Seasons. And then there are the new tracks. It's Going Down is 100% the best battle theme in the series at the moment. And Color Your Night is probably one of the best video game songs ever produced. It is one of my favorite Persona tracks now. Hell, it's even my outro song. The story needs no introduction. It's still probably the best story in the entire series, and nothing has changed whatsoever. To this day, it is still one of the only games to make me cry. I sadly have not played The Answer yet, the DLC for Persona 3 Reload, but I heard it was pretty good as well. Persona 3 Reload absolutely deserves this number 5 slot. Honestly, this game deserves to be on this list. It is such a banger game in basically every way. The presentation, the graphics, the character interactions, the voice acting, the music, and many more things about this game. I'm going to be honest. I'm not that big of a Final Fantasy VII guy. 7 isn't bad, but I just think it is very overrated in my opinion. I played Remake in January of this year, and thought to myself, damn, I wonder how they'll translate the rest of the world into the next game. I was kind of worried that they would make the world exploration more linear just because there was just so much world to work with, but damn, they really knocked it out of the fucking park. The world exploration is probably one of the strongest aspects of Rebirth. The world is absolutely huge, and it makes me think that the third game probably won't be able to hold the entire world, so they gotta separate everything into like a bunch of discs. Just like the good old days. Another really good aspect that Rebirth shines in is its combat. The combat is a more refined version of Remake's combat, and honestly, Remake's combat is not my favorite. It's pretty clunky at times, and magic is basically useless because you could just spam the attack button and win. However, Rebirth's combat is so much better. While, yes, it still does have its problems, most of the problems that I had been lessened or outright fixed. The combat feels so much better than ever before, and I just know that the third game will make the combat basically perfect. Now, the only thing that I think holds this game back a lot is the story. Mainly the last couple of hours. Gameplay wise, amazing, no doubt about it. However, the ending just left a very big sour taste in my mouth. I will talk about the ending just a tiny bit, but that's about it. So if you want to skip to the next entry, now's the time. Okay, I hate the ending. I think it's dumb. The way they portrayed Aerith's death was stupid. I was so confused that, like, the entire time. Like, is she dead? Is she not? Is she dead? Is she not? I can't be shocked about the scene if I'm trying to piece together what the fuck is going on. Like, stop, don't give me false hope. Aerith is, like, my favorite Final Fantasy VII character. And, like, they were like, she's alive. Nah, I'm kidding. She's dead. No, she's alive. Just kidding, she's dead. Oh, she's alive. Nah, she's not. Please, make up your mind. Another thing, the marketing of this game, dumb as fuck. Zack is fucking everywhere in marketing, and he's barely in the goddamn game. What is the point of him even being there? In the final fight, Cloud and Zack are fighting together, and it's fucking awesome. That's cool, but it holds no impact to the story whatsoever. And he's just there, has that one fight, and then fucks off. Like, bro, I swear, Vincent was in this game longer than Zack. Like, I hate this ending. It's not good. Oh my god. Okay. That's all. Overall, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a fantastic game, and it is 100% worthy of being on this list. I'm just going to keep this one pretty short, because you can just refer to my Brothership video for my full thoughts. I don't want to say my full thoughts again, because it's a lot. To keep it short, this game is very, very fucking good. It's on par with Bowser's Inside Story. Brothership is everything a Mario and Luigi game should be, and so much more. It is one of the games that I have had the most fun with this year. It was also my most anticipated game of this year, and it has not only met my expectations, but far exceeded them. It is a perfect fucking game. It is an amazing game, basically near perfect. The only reason why Brothership isn't number 2 or number 1 on this list is because the next games are just that amazing to me. Once again, please watch my Mario and Luigi Brothership video in order to hear my full thoughts. Honestly, I had quite a difficult time placing the number 1 and 2 slots. To me, those games are so close that honestly, the number 1 and number 2 slots don't actually matter that much. However, I had to come to a decision, and the number 2 slot is... It honestly pains me that I have to put Stellar Blade below the number 1 slot, because I absolutely love this game. If the number 1 slot had not released this year, Stellar Blade would have been 100% at the top of this list. Stellar Blade is most likely my personal game of the year. This game is the most fun I've had playing a game this year. Now, you are probably wondering, if you're saying all of this, why isn't Stellar Blade number 1? Unfortunately, as good as I think the game is, it does have some problems. The biggest problems is probably the story and the way that you get to the true ending of the game. The story isn't very deep. It's overall pretty surface level. There are significantly deeper plots and little hints about the world and the lore, but they don't really go into depth at all, which is unfortunate, because I think that the world is super interesting and I really like the lore and the backstory of a lot of things in this game. Getting to the true ending is honestly pretty difficult as well. You will 100% miss getting the true ending if you aren't a completionist. The way you get to the true ending is by collecting items relating to Mother Sphere, the god deity that sends Eve to Earth in the first place. It's a cool concept, but the execution just isn't good. You can't even check your progress in the menu. You just have to guess and then collect everything, and hopefully that when you get to that point, you unlock the requirements for the true ending. As I was playing through this game for the first time, a thought popped into my head. The main focus of Stellar Blade is not its story. It is its combat and gameplay. The gameplay is so expansive and honestly the best part about this game. The gameplay is like if you smash a Souls game and Nier Automata together. There's just so many different ways that you can just take down an enemy. You could do aerial combos, ground combos, simple light combos into more powerful moves, and much more. There's just so much for you to do. I played this game for over 100 hours because I just could not get enough of this game, and apparently neither can the developers. Shift up. Since its release in late April, there have been multiple free updates and patches that improve the game a lot. They added a boss rush mode, more suits for Eve to wear, and then the most recent thing they added was a photo mode, all for free. Of course, we can't leave out a staple DLC for basically any game with a hot woman in it, the Nier Automata DLC. This game still gets updates, and it's great. Honestly, while I'm making this video, I want to go back and play the game right now. Stellar Blade is honestly one of the best games, not only of this year, but one of the best games we've gotten in a very long time. Like I said, Stellar Blade would have gotten the top slot if it wasn't for our number 1 slot. Daybreak is by far the best game to release this year in America. Daybreak came out in Japan in 2021. It came out in America in 2024, so it's technically a new game. If Shadow of the Erdtree, a DLC, was nominated for Game of the Year, Daybreak is allowed to be on this list. Trails Through Daybreak is the most current Trails game to be released in the West. It is the 11th game in a long-running franchise, and it is the start of a new arc and the start of the story focusing on the eastern side of Zumeria. I put over 150 hours in just my first playthrough of Daybreak, and I am confident that this is the best game this year. Everything about this game is actually perfect. There is little to no cons in this game, in my opinion. The story is probably one of the best stories in the series. It is probably the best starting arc game. The writing is amazing, it feels new and fresh while building up from what has already been established in the overall story. It's just really good. Everything about it. The gameplay is honestly the best it's ever been. It's so fluid and takes the old combat and refines it even more. And combined with the new style of combat, flows perfectly with each other. I never got bored of the combat, and I kept finding new ways to explore the combat and more ways to break the game in my favor. The voice acting is fucking amazing, and one of the best parts of Daybreak. Every voice actor acted their heart out. Nothing felt stiff, and everybody felt like they were actually the character. Daybreak's cast of characters are amazing and well fleshed out, and a lot of them are now considered to be some of the best characters in the series now. A lot of them are now pretty high up there in my favorite list as well. Before Daybreak came out in the West, many people who have already played Daybreak have said that Daybreak is one of, if not the best game in the entire series. And I can confidently say that they were fucking right. Daybreak is one of the best games in the series. Personally, I think that the best game in the series is another game, but I do agree that it's super fucking good. The Legend of Heroes Trails Through Daybreak is without a doubt the best game to come out this year. And that's the video! I hope that you all enjoyed the video. If you think that a game should have been on this list, let me know which ones. This is the last video of this year, so I will see you all in 2025.